Hi everybody, it's me RVRebel Girl and welcome to my channel. I often get asked a lot of different questions about my full-time RV life and I'm happy to answer them. Sometimes I'm not able to give a full answer in a comment, on another video, but I thought I'd take some time to talk about my full-time RV life. If Danny will let me. Okay, get down, Danny. Danny, go.
Come on.
There's like a bunch of questions. How much does it cost for gas? How much does it cost for insurance? All those things. So if you'll stay tuned, I'm going to get to some of those questions. Be right back.
Live your life within the moment. And don't go wait until the morning. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away. And we'll dance the night away.
Thanks for hanging in there. So one of the couple of the most common questions, a few of the most common questions that I'm asked is, how much does it cost to full-time? How do you pay your bills? And how do you do your banking? What about your vehicle licenses and your insurance? And where do I get my mail? So I'm going to answer a lot of those for you. Let me tell you something. Being in an RV life does not necessarily mean it's going to be cheaper for a lot of people to live. It's not always cheap RV living for everybody. It depends on the lifestyle you would like to maintain. So when I started out in a small little 16-foot camper, and I pulled it with my Ford Edge that I had to put a whole towing package on and a transmission cooler because it didn't have a tow package on it. And then I learned shortly after that that I really wanted to be full-time, and I got rid of my apartment because I was never there. So I was going to save the amount of money it was costing me for my tiny apartment. I'd already sold my houses and I was retired and went through that whole real estate crisis. I lost money, but now I decided that I wanted to be able to enjoy my retired life and travel. And I knew I just couldn't do that if I was living in an apartment paying rent. How could I afford to continue to do that? So I decided first, I thought, oh, I'll live in a tiny house. But then I thought, well, then I have to constantly be at that tiny house. That doesn't give me, I can't bring that everywhere with me. It's going to be too much. So I thought, I'm just going to get me an RV and I'm going to travel. I knew a van was going to be too small for me. I had worked very hard my whole life to have some of the nicer things. And I, grew up as an orphan with very minimal things in my life, and I'd worked hard for the things that I had, and I wasn't ready to give all those up, but I was ready to be minimal, and so that's what I did. I had started out in a 16-foot camper, and then I upgraded to the camper I have right now, which I've had since 2019, and I love it. And I've had my issues. If you follow my channel, you know I've broken down. I've had to get a whole new axle. I had all kinds of problems, and it was brand new. But what I pay monthly is basically I pay for my van, okay, my trailer, my propane, and my vehicle insurance. And those are like basic necessities. When I say propane, yeah, propane to run my house. I don't have a sticks and bricks where I have to pay electric and gas and water. Okay. Most cases, I don't have to pay for my water, or I'm paying for it in combination with something else. That brings me to my Thousand Trails membership. I pay for my Thousand Trails membership, and although I pay for that by the year, I save a lot of money if I were to have to pay for a campsite without that membership. So on the whole, I really make out very well by using my Thousand Trails camping pass and the Trails collection. So I pay for that every month as well. So I pay about $1,100 for my home, and running my home. And remember, solar is free. Now that I have the basics in place, but yes, it did cost me some money to install my solar or to buy the solar panels, and you have to maintain the batteries. But we're just going to talk about basic, what does it cost monthly? So it's about $1,100 for that. And then there's internet and telephone. Of course, we have to have something to keep us connected so if we have an emergency. I have a phone when I have complete unlimited internet and phone and texting. So my phone, and now I have Starlink now. With my Starlink and my phone, and also with my Verizon package that I haven't given up yet, because there's times I still need my Verizon internet on my MiFi pack because I might pull into a Cracker Barrel. I'm not going to yank out my Starlink in the middle of a Cracker Barrel parking lot, although other people have been known to do that. I'm not that girl. So with that, I pay about $300 a month. Okay, and I mentioned my 1,000 trails at $100 a month. So you have it there. It's right here as I'm showing you. It's 11 and 3 and 1, so it's $1,500. Now, not everybody's going to spend that kind of money. I have a van and I have a camper. So I'm paying insurance on the van to drive it and on the camper. Like, liability insurance on the camper, not as much on the camper, it's much less than it is to pay for my vehicle. But if I were in an apartment today, I would be paying about $1,400 a month or more for a one-bedroom apartment, tiny apartment. And that didn't include parking. So I had to pay to park somewhere. I got around that. I found a way to get around that and park for free. But in most cases, most of the people in my building were paying for parking. But in addition, I was still paying for my car payment and my camper payment and storage of my camper because I was storing my camper. So I'm saving about $1,000 a month by living in my RV. And with that $1,000, I'm able to pay off bills. I've been able to pay off bills and credit cards, and I don't buy anything unless I could pay for it by cash, so I can save up. So how do I pay my bills and what do I do about banking? Well, before we go to that, let me say this. If you're in a van, you can live this life as a van lifer, probably for less money, because you're not going to use as much gas when you travel and you're going to have less car insurance. And if you get a van and you build it out yourself, like I did, I built my van out, even though I don't live in it, it's my den, but you can get it for less money and you could save money rather than buying a van that's built out already for $100,000. You could buy a used van and live very comfortably in it and have solar and a lot of the conveniences that many other van dwellers have and be so happy. But I like to have a little bit more room and I want to have a little bit more conveniences because I think I worked long enough and I deserve it. I've worked two jobs mostly almost my entire life, especially, being a single mom. So then let's go on to the next questions. Paying my bills and banking. Well, I pay all my bills online. So and with my banking, I have two banks. Yep, two banks. I think that's really important because when I lost my credit card or my ATM card, I had no way to get any money. And I could walk into a bank and write a check and go up to the counter, but who wants to do that all the time? I've constantly got to go get cash at the bank with a check. And what happens if your bank isn't in the area you're staying in? Then what do? You know what I'm saying? So it's always good to have two separate banks. I have one bank that is like There's branches all over the United States. And my second bank is basically a more local bank, an Illinois local bank that I've been with for a long time since I moved back to Illinois from Florida. So I have an ATM for both banking facilities. I can go online and move money from one account to the other. So in the event I were to lose my ATM card or my card was to get compromised, I could cancel the card and move money to another bank and use that card. Because when you're on the road, the bank is not where you're going to get, they're not going to send you an ATM card anywhere but to your address, to your regular address. And what are you using for an address? It might not be bad if you're using one of the major companies that's going to transfer your mail, but I don't use one of those companies that transfer my mail. I use post office. So I always recommend that you have two accounts with two different banks and two different credit cards. And what I do is I just put my bill money in one account, and that I only use that account to pay bills. I pay my car payment, my van payment. I pay my camper payment. I pay my insurance, and I pay my bills out of that account. Then the other account I use to pay for my gas and my groceries, and those everyday things. And I keep a lesser amount of money in that account because that's the account I'm using all the time to get gas and stuff. And I don't want that account to get, that account, I could keep less money in, and it's less money to lose if for some chance somebody were to get my account information. And my account that I pay my bills at is where I would put my money, the majority of my money that I get every month, my Social Security, and I can move some into the other account to pay, for the little things. So this way I don't ever lose the ability to get to money for gas or something like that. And don't forget, you should have a savings account for your emergency fund. And this way you can take a little bit every month and put into that emergency fund so that you always know that you have a little stash just in case you have to get a tow truck or you have to get a new tire because you got a flat, or it's time to get new tires, or it's time for that oil change, or you need to go in and have your bearings packed if you don't do them yourself. I do them myself now. But that could be a whole nother video. If you go back and watch the video from when I got stranded in Texas and I had, had to get a whole new axle for my brand new camper that I'm living in now. So those are the few of the things that I wanted to bring up and talk to you about today. I hope that helped you. What else? What else is it? What's some of the other questions I'm trying to remember that how much do you spend in gas? Well, gas depends. I get about 12 miles to the gallon on my van when I'm towing, and it depends on how long I'm sitting someplace. I do value my membership with the 1,000 Trails collection and the Trails collections because it allows me to park and have air conditioning, water, electric, and Danny could be in a safe place, especially when I'm in Yuma. I can leave Danny at the RV park and then go on to the New Mexico and spend Mexico for the day. Spend the day in Mexico and have my shrimp tacos for lunch, which I love so much. So those are some of the things that I get questioned about all the time. I hope that helped you. If you make the decision to live this life, your life can be totally different than mine. It depends on what you have available to you, the funds you have available. There are people who live on $600 a month in this lifestyle in a van, and they've got a beautiful little van home on wheels, and they're very happy, and they love their life, and they travel, and they never pay for a campground. In Arizona, we've talked about this before. If you go to Arizona in the wintertime and you want to stay in a nice warm place so you don't have to deal with the cold, you can stay at the LTVA for under $200 for like over 6 months. That's, you know, what, 25 bucks a month, 30 bucks a month, if not even, to stay there, because you get water, you get garbage, you have free sewer, and you just got to stay in your little home on wheels. And it's so inexpensive to do that if you're on a stricter budget. Oops, I think it's starting to rain. But, if you travel as much as I do, I mean, I travel from the East Coast to the West Coast, and I'm trying to see the United States and be able to be a snowbird and do the things that I couldn't do all the years I was working. Now I have a chance to enjoy those things. I could not have enjoyed these things if I didn't live this full-time RV van life. So I do have to budget myself. Being on the keto lifestyle of eating, I found that it's been very good financially for me, because even though it can be expensive to eat keto, I don't go driving through McDonald's or Burger King, or I don't rarely go out to eat. I don't drink alcohol very often. Once in a great while, I may have a drink, but rarely drink any alcohol. And I don't smoke. Thank goodness I quit smoking 16 years ago. That saves me a lot of money. And I mean, gosh, I think cigarettes are like 10 bucks a pack now compared to two something, or 50 cents when I started smoking. But those, because I don't do those things, it's easier for me to like bargain, like, well, I don't do this, so I'll do that. I don't spend my money on liquors, but I'll spend a little extra on internet, or, that type of thing. So it's been a good life for me, and I've been full-time RV van lifing now so actually I started in 2017 and went full-time in 2018. So it's been 5 years. Let's see, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, almost 6 years, you know. So I hope this helps you a little bit. One of the other questions was, I didn't want to, I keep sidetracking. Yeah, people always also say, how do you get your mail? There are a couple of different ways to get your mail. Some people belong to Escapees Club, and the Escapees Club will open your mail for you if you want. They'll scan it for you, and they'll transfer it to you, and you keep a small amount of money in a postage fund where you want them to send it. I have a P.O. box. So I have my mail goes to a P.O. box. I pay, it's not that much money. I think it might be $200 a year now. I'm not sure. I have to go back and check because they just raised it last November. So it'll be coming up again this November. If I go to, what I normally do is when I leave and go to Arizona, I know I'm going to be there for like 2 to 3 months in Arizona, Las Vegas, New Mexico, Texas area for a couple months. So I have my mail transferred to my brother's house in Florida from my P.O. box. And then my brother looks at my mail, tells me what's there. And I really don't get anything anymore because I have everything go to me via email online. And before I leave town, I have already done this for my vehicle license. I have already gone online and I've renewed my tag for my trailer and my tag for my van. And I should be getting that in the mail within 8 to 10 days at my P.O. box here in Illinois, which I'll just pick up because I'm in Illinois. I'll pick it up and I'll have it. And it doesn't expire until November. So I'll have my tags already renewed, and that's our responsibility as drivers. We need to have that done. So the best thing to do is to keep up on it. You can renew it online and have them mail it to you, but they don't usually mail it to you out of state. They mail it to you at your domicile that you've claimed. My domicile is here, so they'll mail it to my P.O. box, and then I will just go get that. And when I leave town, I'll have it and have it in my my important paper box, and then when November comes, I'll change my tags. And am I afraid? Aren't you afraid to travel by yourself? Aren't you afraid? I live alone. I lived alone when I had a sticks and bricks or when I had an apartment. I lived alone. It's not any less safe to live a full-time RV life than it is to live a full-time sticks and bricks life. You pull in your driveway at night and it's dark. Are you afraid when you take your garbage cans out to the curb in the dark? No. You just be aware of your surroundings. You know, camp in safe places if you feel uncomfortable. But if you're not comfortable, then this may not be the life for you. You have to be confident and comfortable and have situational awareness and be aware of all your surroundings. I have several different memberships that help me to make things easier or less expensive, like Boondockers Welcome, the Harvest Host. There's so many different apps out there that you can use to make your camping experiences safer for you. If it makes you feel better to camp somewhere that's more structured and a structured campground for less money. There's the Army Corps of Engineers. There's the America the Beautiful and the National Park Pass that you can purchase as a senior citizen. And if you cannot afford to buy the lifetime senior citizen pass, you can pay $20 a year for 4 years. And after the 4th year, they will give you your lifetime pass. Almost like a payment plan. Yeah, I didn't know that, but I read it on the America the Beautiful website. So you might want to check that out if you're a senior, 62 years old. And it also applies to veterans and handicapped, also eligible for that lifetime pass, where we get half off camping and free entry into the national parks. So I hope the information I gave you today was helpful. And I hope you'll continue to watch my channel and travel along with me and enjoy the sights I'm seeing. And check out my full-time RV life.
Have a great day and stay tuned for our next video.